Hi guys, thanks for joining me. I've decided to do your weekly horoscope outside today because it's such a beautiful, cold, sunny day here in Glastonbury. I'm just at the bottom of the Tor. It's really beautiful. Loads of people running around, climbing the Tor. It's a really nice winter day, so we don't get these very often. So I thought I'd do the horoscope for the week outside today. And this horoscope is from Monday the 20th of November, going through until Sunday the 26th of November. So on Monday the 20th, the moon is in Sagittarius. Sagittarius being a fire sign and the fire sign of the centaur, half horse, half man with his bow and arrow, always aiming at something, galloping towards something, setting goals and intentions. And that conjuncts the communication planet Mercury, which is also in Sagittarius. So immediately with both of these planets being in Sagittarius, we've got a lot of passion and energy and this desire to move forward. What's also involved here is Saturn in Sagittarius, which conjuncts the moon in Sagittarius and Mercury in Sagittarius. And Saturn is about maintaining the status quo. In Sagittarius, it's somewhat conflicted. It doesn't really know whether it's coming or going. Should I maintain things? Should I change things up? But with all the other energy that's in Sagittarius, so we've got three things here today, the moon, Mercury, and Saturn. Got a lot of fire in the chart today. So you'll start the week with a desire to do things differently, to explore, to travel, to change things up, to kind of reach further than you usually do. There'll be a renewed sense of purpose, drive, and energy launching you into the week like a catapult, and I think it's going to feel really, really positive. So it's not that you get up on Monday and you're like, oh, grumbling and groaning. You approach the new week with a genuine kind of sense of excitement and enthusiasm, and you look at how you can make things work for you and how you can feel excited about things. So if you're working in a job that's mundane or something, or you're in some sort of situation that feels boring or routine, or you know how it's going to end, that's not going to work for you on Monday. You'll really want to change things up. You'll want to do things differently, and that's good. So if you have the potential or the opportunity to make changes so that they suit your needs more, then do that, because this day is all about fire. And fire in the astrology and the tarot is all about life purpose, passion, and what's really going on for you internally. You know, Sagittarius is the one fire sign that happens in the winter, and the astrology is based on the northern hemisphere. So we've got Aries, which is in spring, everything is just blooming and coming to life. Leo is the height of summer, everything is out, there's fire all over nature. And now in November, we've got fire, but it's internal. You know, the only fire that we've got is, indoors, like having a comfortable fire in the house to keep things warm, believing in ourselves, thinking about what can I do, how can I create some fire for myself. So Sagittarius is the one fire sign of the zodiac that's more about the internal fire rather than the external fire. So it's about creating something yourself and adding something to a situation instead of reacting to loads of fiery situations in your life. On Tuesday, the 21st of November, we've got the moon going into Capricorn. So that's immediately much more structured, much more down to earth, much more grounded. Capricorn is the goat, the little mountain goat trying to get to the top of the hill, and it always does. So the moon in Capricorn makes you more earnest. It makes you focused on work, what you can achieve, how you can use your skills and talents to affect change. On the same day, we have Venus in Scorpio. So the planet of love and beauty is in the super intense sign of Scorpio, and that sextiles Pluto in Capricorn. So Pluto is about transformation, also in Capricorn like the moon. So immediately now we're looking at real life, your actual experience and the structures of your life. The Capricorn moon then sextiles the good luck planet Jupiter, which is in Scorpio, and it sextiles Neptune in Pisces. So we got a nice mix here. Less fire, we've got lots of earth by the Capricorn, and then we have water, which is about feelings, intuition, things being flexible and adaptable. That comes from the Scorpio and the Pisces. So on Tuesday, there's a sense of groundedness immediately that comes with the moon, and desire when it comes to your life and the way it looks. So on Monday, you really got excited and you wanted to kind of make things happen and be different and exciting, and you looked at things from a different perspective with a pair of fresh eyes. On Tuesday, it's about actually maintaining those things that are now more exciting and building them into your life and structuring them into your life. So you've discovered something new and you want to kind of make that a solid, constant thing now. We had the new moon in Scorpio, I think it was on the 18th, and that was all about new beginnings. That was on Saturday. So you may have felt this thing bubbling up inside of you saying, oh, I feel like I want to make things different and I want to make things changes. Monday is great to actually explore that and do it. Tuesday is about maintaining it and putting it into place for real. So you'll want to take control of your life and shape your life the way you want it to be. So there are certain things we have control over, you know, the way we work and what we're eating and the routine and everything like that. But it can also be frustrating, especially when it comes to things that you're powerless over. And the things we're powerless over are people, places, and things. So if you want to get someone to fall in love with you, you can't make that happen. It's just one of those things that either happens or doesn't. Places, if you live in a city like Berlin, London, Copenhagen, New York, whatever, you as an individual don't have a lot of control over that city. You just kind of have to react to it. And things going on in your life, sometimes whether you worry or you don't worry, or whether you feel like you have control of all the things that are going on in your life, you can always be thrown a curveball, and then you can't control that. So watch out for Tuesday. There is a nice sense of, you know, I do have control, I've got agency over my life, I can affect change if I want to. But if things don't go your way, and if you're looking at situations that you want to change but you have no power over, then you can potentially get irritated and you'll feel like, I'm not making enough progress. I want to be further ahead than this. I wanted to make changes. I wanted, you know, it's I. Me, myself, and I. So look at that and see if you do get frustrated, to just let go and see what you can control and what you can't control. Now on Wednesday, the 22nd of November, the sun moves into Sagittarius. So happy birthday, Sagittarius. So now we're leaving this kind of Scorpio energy, which was really intense. We do still have a couple of planets in Scorpio, so the intense emotions are still around, but we're now going into a period that's much more optimistic, that's much more focused on having fun and traveling and progressing in life and moving forward and kind of doing things independently and exploring. So on Wednesday, we've got the sun doing that. What also happens is that Neptune goes direct. Neptune is the water planet of dreams and intuition, and with that going direct, it's kind of back in business. So it'll give you a sense that, oh, my hopes and dreams can come true. I can make things happen. And as I said on Tuesday, you'll have a strong desire for that. So it's really important to differentiate the things that you have control over and the things you don't. There's a great prayer for this called the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And that's the difficult bit. What do you accept and what do you change? And that's where the wisdom needs to come in, because if you're trying to, you know, make changes to things that are totally outside of your control, you're going to be annoyed. And if you do use your energy in a constructive way on things that are changeable, you can really improve things and have a greater sense of, oh my God, I've accomplished something here. This is great. So you have this wonderful sense of optimism, independence, the desire to explore and travel on Wednesday and to simply have fun, either alone or with other people. With Neptune going direct, your hopes and dreams seem possible again, and like you can make the changes that you so desperately want to make. So there's a great sense of longing in the air, and the problem with desperately wanting to make changes or longing for things to change, what you're doing is you're creating more longing and you're manifesting more desire. What's better with this kind of stuff is to affirm what you're doing. So instead of saying, I long for a relationship, instead of that, say, you know, universe, thank you for bringing me the life partner that I've always wanted, or thank you for bringing a soulmate into my life. And that way you're acting as if it's done already, instead of creating more you know, this energy of trying to get something, and you're not manifesting a greater whole or a greater sense of emptiness. So Wednesday is interesting because you'll feel positive about things, but it's just again, you got to be clear about the things that are within your control and that you can affect, and the things that you can't. So that's the only place you've got to be a little bit disciplined in this week. On Thursday, the 23rd of November, first of all, happy Thanksgiving if you're in the States. The moon goes into Aquarius, which is perfect for Thanksgiving because the moon in Aquarius is really humanitarian. It's an air sign, it's good at communicating, it's interested in the greater good, doing things for humanity, being of service. And it sextiles the sun in Sagittarius, which is just fun and all about exploration and discovering things for yourself. So it's the perfect atmosphere for a Thanksgiving celebration. So if you're concerned about it or worried, being with the in-laws and the relatives can sometimes, you know, be a bit iffy for a lot of people. So this isn't going to be one of the worst Thanksgivings. It's actually supported. It looks really good, and you don't have to worry about it. Things are looking really positive. Couldn't be much better in terms of a gathering of lots of people. So it's because you feel generous, optimistic, and interested in the well-being of those around you, which you aren't always. None of us are all the time. Most people think about themselves most of the time. So you're getting together with other people, you're considerate, you're thinking about what they're going through, and that means that you can actually have a wonderful celebration instead of saying, you know, this and this and this. Friday, the 24th of November, Mercury, the communication planet, is in Sagittarius. The communication planet in Sagittarius is positive. I think it gives you lots of ideas, lots of inspiration. It also gives you the freedom to think outside of the box, but it's not particularly productive in terms of actually getting things down on paper. It's also not particularly good at focusing on all the details. So if you're doing contracts or signing things or looking over paperwork, just make sure you double check everything, because Mercury in Sagittarius is just going to make you want to skip ahead through the pages. You know, if you're reading a contract, it's like, yeah, okay, sign. And that's not always great, obviously. Mercury squares Chiron in Pisces. Chiron is the wounded healer. The Aquarius moon squares Jupiter in Scorpio. So there's a lot of, so we've got Mercury in Sag, fire, Chiron in Pisces, water, the moon in Aquarius, which is air, and then Jupiter in Scorpio, which is again more water. So on this day, it's a mix, it's a jumble. There may be mood swings, you may be up and down a little bit, feeling things, then totally in your head, then kind of thinking, what else can I do, where else can I go? On this day though, it's interesting because you may discover some hidden information, especially if you're doing some digging or research. So this Mercury in Sag isn't gonna make you miss things particularly, it's gonna allow you to go much further than you usually do. So there may also be a discovery in the field of science, people who are working on different things. Last week I read things about driverless cars being approved in the UK, for instance. So we're going to see that we have driverless cars by 2021, they said. And we've got that big conjunction between Pluto, Saturn and Jupiter happening in 2020. So as far as I'm concerned, we are looking at a big change in terms of technology and science in the next 3 years anyway. That's really significantly going to change the way we live. I think it's artificial intelligence, but I mean, driverless cars aren't particularly intelligent. It's just like having a sat-nav built in and the car does it for you. We'll see how that goes. But on a personal level, it's a great day to find out more about someone in your life who you're not sure about. You know, is there a connection, is there not a connection? By kind of talking to this person and researching them, by having a chat, a conversation, whatever it is, you can discover if there is something there or not. And it's the best day to do that without immediately feeling disappointed or rejected or, oh, you know, this isn't who I thought. And that makes me feel sad because we thought there was something there, for instance. Like I went on a date last Monday and it was fine, and it was a nice pleasant chat and conversation and everything, but I didn't hear back from the person afterwards. I think they call it ghosting, when the person just disappears on you, and it didn't have as much of an emotional response as it usually would, which is what's happening on this day as well. So if you're someone who has to watch out for their emotional response, you know, sometimes we have to take care of ourselves, especially if we're doing things like that, meeting new people or going outside of our comfort zone. We have to kind of protect ourselves, especially sensitive people, and manage your expectations so that, you know, not every time you go on a date and someone doesn't immediately reciprocate, that you don't fall to pieces every time. You've got, you know, so you've got to judge, you've got to choose your days, and you've got to try and make it as easy as possible for yourself. And that's where things like the astrology are useful, because Friday is a good day to research and to find something out and to understand it in an intellectual sense rather than immediately having this huge emotional response. The emotional response comes later in the week. So let's move on to Saturday, which sees Mercury still being in Sagittarius, and that trines Uranus in Aries. Now, Uranus is the planet of eccentricity and doing things differently, and in Aries it's like a bulldozer. So Mercury and Uranus combining means that the way you communicate and the way you think, you're immediately 5 miles ahead of everything. You're just projecting yourself into the future. The moon is in Aquarius, so still this sense of being a humanitarian and thinking quite clearly. That trines Mars in Libra, also very compromising, and it squares Venus in Scorpio, intense. So we've got a mix here. So the Aquarius moon and the Mars in Libra, they mitigate Venus a little bit. So instead of things being super, super intense, you're also seeing the other points of view, like the other person's point of view around things, and that's helpful. The moon, though, also sextiles Uranus in Aries, and it sextiles Mercury in Sagittarius. So we've come full circle here. So yeah, Mercury and Sagittarius are trining each other, and then the moon forms a relationship with both of them as well. So on Saturday here, you may have like an Alison Poole kind of moment, and you may want to destroy something, especially if it's a relationship. Because with this Uranus now coming in, and Mars being frustrated in Libra, saying I have to compromise all the time and think about other people's point of view, and I have to be considerate, you start getting a little bit snarky about it, and you may just want to, you know, you may just think, what about me? What about my way of doing things? So the moon in Aquarius mitigates that to some extent and allows you to think of the long-term consequences of doing things like that. But nonetheless, emotions are going to run high on Saturday, the 25th. You'll be sick of compromising to some extent. You won't know whether you're right or wrong, whether it's right to compromise or not. You know, when do you put your foot down and when do you compromise? Where's the line that says I'm a doormat, and where's the line that says I'm an arrogant, selfish egomaniac? It's difficult to discern sometimes. I mean, I'm talking in extremes here, but you have to kind of figure out, you know, sometimes you have to stand up for yourself, and sometimes you have to tone it down a little bit. And on days like Saturday, you won't know which one to do. It's difficult. It's difficult to decide. So you don't know whether you're right or wrong, and you just made, because of that and the lack of knowing and the friction behind all of that, you may just decide to press the effort button and watch things blow up. And that's the Alison Poole kind of desire to just say, I want to take this relationship and I want to set it on fire and I want to watch it burn. So Thursday is good for research and finding things out. No, not Thursday. Friday is good for research and finding things out. Saturday is a bit much. Saturday is really like emotions are running high. So try and kind of keep a lid on things on Saturday. Moving on to Sunday, that's now totally different because the moon enters Pisces. Pisces is much more forgiving, it's self-sacrificing, it's spiritual, it's totally connected to how other people feel. So rather than saying, you know, I'm compromising and I'm not compromising and back and forth, you just, instead of being in your head and just trying to decide things and figure things out, you just go down into your heart and you feel things. Pisces is much more emotional and sensitive about these things, and it listens to its heart. The moon then in Pisces squares the sun in Sagittarius, so that's really upbeat and lifts it. Venus is still in Scorpio, and that trines Chiron, the wounded healer, in Pisces, and Jupiter in Scorpio. So as you can see on Sunday, we've now almost got no fire except the sun, which is in Sagittarius. Everything else is in Pisces and in Scorpio. So this is a day of emotions. So Sunday, your perceptions and your heart really softens after yesterday's fiery and explosive energy. It's a good time to discuss things calmly, especially if things kind of blew up the day before, and you can be open and honest, and you can fix things or even find some sort of resolution. So, you know, sometimes we need these big blow-ups to get something changing and to get something moving. If we didn't have that, if we didn't have anger and the desire to say, do you know what, I don't know what to do anymore, I'm just going to screw this up on purpose, deliberately, it can be helpful to just get things out in the open. If they have come out into the open on Saturday, then you can address these now in a more calm way and use it as a positive. Or you can find resolution in terms of saying, do you know what, actually this isn't working for us anymore, either in a relationship or work. That reaction that I had yesterday was truly the way I feel. And it's a good thing that I blew this up and destroyed it, because it's just no longer functioning. And I think, for instance, we should go our separate ways. And that's a difficult thing to do anyway, and you need a little bit of energy sometimes to get you there. You can't just, you know, be loving and gentle and forgiving all the time and say, you know, I love you so much, that's why I'm going to break up with you. Doesn't usually work like that. If it does, wonderful, but sometimes it takes a bit more of irritants and things to kind of snap before you can move on and find a resolution. So your feelings are really, really intense on Sunday, still with Venus being in Scorpio. So it is calmer than Saturday, but there is still this intensity floating around. So if things don't go your way, expect, and especially if you don't get a resolution or you're not able to fix things because the other person is unwilling or is closed off, or the situation is totally out of your control. There's that control thing coming up again that we had earlier in the week. The serenity prayer is really good. Look at what you can control and what you can't control. Because if you're trying to get closure or something to be resolved here on Sunday, and you come up against a brick wall, you can expect a really heavy and strong emotional reaction internally. Like, okay, that's it. I'm done now. I've had it. I'm fed up. I've had it up to here. And that's going to be difficult because, you know, the moon is in Pisces. Your heart is softer. You're thinking much more along the lines of how you're feeling. And that anger then can go inward and you can turn it on yourself. You know, why did I blow up yesterday like that? Why did I have to say that? Couldn't I have just been quiet? Couldn't I have just, you know, bit my tongue and put up with it and da-da-da-da-da. And then that kind of thinking, that kind of anger turned inwards, turns into depression. And then you're like, I'm no good at relationships. This is all my fault. And that's not right. That's a faulty perception in itself. And that's simply anger turned inward. And that's anger that hasn't gone anywhere. Anger can be really useful, like I said, in making changes in it and altering your circumstances. Sometimes you need the energy of anger to get things to change. So, Sunday is good to fix or to find resolution. So make sure that it's consensual. Like if you're sitting down and it's like, okay, let's talk about what we're doing yesterday. If the other person is like, yeah, let's talk about it, but you know, I've got 2 minutes and then I've got to go. Then that's not going to work. So don't set yourself up to fail by getting into those situations. And if someone or something isn't reciprocating, then steer clear, hands off. Otherwise you get drilling noises like that in your head. So that's the week from Monday the 20th to Sunday the 26th of November. As far as I see it, I hope it gives you an idea of what you'll be working with and what the energy is all about. Neptune going direct is really great because Neptune is the manifestation planet. So if you're someone who works with vision boards, or if you're someone who has felt like Oh, you know, 2017 has been a bit of a letdown, and there's not much hope for things changing. Things are going to stay like flat, and I'm bored, and God, nothing is ever going to change. You'll really notice with Neptune going direct that you get that renewed sense of hope and optimism. It's like, oh, well, you know, life is actually, there are certain parts of my life where I do have control. I can move to a different country. I can alter my work schedule. I can find another employee, whatever. So it's just about differentiating between what you can and what you can't control. So if you'd like a private reading with me, I use astrology, tarot, and numerology in all my readings. If you'd like a reading with me, then please go to my website. It's gregoryscott.com. Click on the readings tab to order your reading. And in my readings, I use all three tools, and the astrology in particular gives me a blueprint of your soul. So it's a wheel, and it's the moment you were born, and it's happy people. It gives me a real insight into what your life mission is, why you've come back this time, or what your vocational aptitudes are. So what you're going to be good at in terms of work, what you should focus on, what you should avoid. Strengths and weaknesses in terms of your personality, in terms of your life. I can also use astrocartography, which is basically reversing the chart, and instead of looking at the sky, I position myself in the sky and look at the planet and see where the other planets were transiting over planet Earth, and that shows me what energy is inherent in each part of the world for you. The thinking being that different places and locations have a spirit to them, which I really believe. I moved to Glastonbury. My Mercury goes right through Glastonbury, so I feel more connected. I feel able to communicate, and my intuition is stronger. So we can look at that. I also use the predictive astrology and the tarot and the numerology to look at what's coming up in future. So if you have any questions about your love life, what's coming up with family, your health, career, finances, money, same thing as finances, your love life, promotions, hopes and dreams being realized, personal development, spiritual growth, anything like that at all, then please get in touch for a personal reading. It's gregoryscott.com. Please remember to subscribe to this YouTube channel, and I'll speak to you for the daily tarot readings, these weekly horoscopes, and for the monthly horoscopes, as well as the vlog things that I do. Recently, for instance, I went to see Amma, who's known as the Hugging Saint, who visited London recently, and I made a couple of videos about that and put it on the vlogging part of my channel. So there's lots of different stuff for you to see if you're interested. I hope you have a wonderful week ahead, and I'll speak to you soon.